Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm going to be talking about the overall astrology for July, the themes that we'll be bringing up, and some of the key dates, if you like, during the course of this month to be mindful of. Now, in July, we're not going to experience any brand new retrogrades or anything like that, the way we did in June and the way we're going to be getting in August. So the energy of July is comparatively steady. It's still going to have an underlying intensity to it due to some of the aspects present, but we're not going to be having the same kind of sharp changes when a planet suddenly changes direction when it turns retrograde. So this month the energy is almost like a period of preparation for some major changes going on in August when the eclipse season rolls around. So the more we take advantage of the comparative calm of July and work on ourselves to get to a strong position, the better able we'll then be able to navigate the energies of August. Now, we start off with the Sun in Cancer in July, so this brings about themes like home, a sense of rootedness, a sense of belonging, a connection to our emotions, connection to the core of our being, which a lot of us do get pulled out of because we're so busy working in the outside world that we forget to nourish the inner world. So during this time we do need to make an effort to spend a bit of time with ourselves, ideally in a quiet place where we can just calm down, allow the mind to turn silent and get in touch with our intuition and our emotional nature. We need to get down into the core of our being, the same way that for any tree to grow high it must grow deep roots first. Which is why we have Cancer highlighting the roots before we reach Capricorn, which is the crown of the tree. So during this time we need to turn inwards, look at our inner worlds, look at our private dreams, our hopes, our fears, look at our emotional responses to things. Are they appropriate responses or are they based on past conditioning? So it's important that whatever past condition we have within us, we cleanse it away. In the same way that any mark left on the beach, the tides driven by the moon wipe away those marks through the water. This is where we need to do the same things. So anywhere that we're carrying stuff in our mind that doesn't belong there because it's old conditioning, we need to get in touch with it, find out why we respond the way we do, and then break the emotional response to it so that our emotions are no longer slave to old conditioning. Because Cancer is about warmth and nurturing as well, so it's how we give nurturing, how we receive nurturing, also the motivation behind it. If we nurture other people in the hopes that they'll do something for us in return, then chances are we're going to be disappointed, and that may turn into resentment. But that's because the motivation behind the nurturing is out of self-interest rather than out of a selfless desire to show compassion and nurturing towards other people. So if we do something for someone and they don't reciprocate it, and they're not aware that we have a reason for it, then we need to establish our motivation for doing something. And obviously if the person is always a taker, then that's a problem, but we also need to establish our motivations for giving, because if it's giving in the hopes of getting something, then the motivation behind it isn't pure, and we need to establish why we do that and overcome it. And then, because when we can let go of that conditioning, let go of those motives based on self-interest and allow selfless stuff to come in, as long as we're in touch with our core, nourish ourselves first and foremost, then we're in a position to radiate that kind of love, selflessness to other people without having to worry about burnout and being drained. But it's important that we do take time to know ourselves, because by spending time knowing ourselves and our heart's desires, that then empowers the next stage when the Sun moves into Leo on the 22nd of July. So whatever dreams we've highlighted in Cancer, the Sun's movement into Leo is about expressing those dreams. So it's pursuing our creative abilities, having the self-confidence to take action on our dreams, regardless of what other people say. Now, one issue that we need to bear in mind with Leo is a need for attention, because one thing, and it's also learning how to accept love of other people, because Leo does like recognition, but the thing is, the creative energy that drives all our abilities isn't actually ours. We get it from the spirit, and the more we can see ourselves not as owners of this creative ability, but actually stewards and instruments of divine creative force, then the more of that creativity will naturally flow through us as we stop trying to claim it as our own, and we just appreciate the beauty and the creativity that comes through embracing that divine creative spirit that flows through everything. Because when we stop trying to claim it as our own, and we just accept ourselves humbly as instruments for this divine creativity to flow through us, and we're in it and of it, then we can truly create something beautiful. Our motivations are not about trying to get attention from other people. We then tap into the noble qualities of Leo, like emotional warmth, generosity, encouraging other people to embrace their creative ability, having the courage to shine our own lights for the benefit of all, not just for the benefit of the self, and to give that sense of emotional warmth that allows healthy bonding with other people through learning to accept love and to give it back. So it's important that we do the work of Cancer first, because we need to have a healthy inner world, a healthy self-esteem, and a feeling of rootedness that allows that creative energy to come out of our roots and channel upwards and outwards through our creative pathways, and we can then share that creative nature with other people. Now, some of the key dates during the course of July, we have the full moon in Capricorn on the 9th of July. Now, this full moon shows us the end results of the intentions that we set on the 29th of December last year, when the new moon in Capricorn came about. But it's also about balancing the inner world with the outer, because yes, it's important to get in touch with our inner world, but we need to guard against self-absorption, which can result if we just get so focused on the inner world that we just end up navel-gazing and we don't do anything at all. So we have to turn all that creative energy outwards and channel it through our public pursuits, through our career, and through that our personal destiny, whatever that happens to be, so that we still engage with the outer world and don't get lost in the inner world. And as I said, whatever intentions we set for goals that we want to achieve, legacies we want to build, that were set during the new moon in Capricorn back on the 29th of December last year, we need to reflect now as to how those sort of manifested, and let go of the negative aspects of Capricorn and Cancer. And the next key date is obviously when the Sun moves into Leo, which I've already discussed, but this is about getting in touch with that creative ability, having the courage to radiate or embrace our creativity and create things without worrying about how other people will receive it. And a day later, so on the 23rd of July, we then have the new moon in Leo. This is the first of two new moons. The second one will be a solar eclipse next month. So the first new moon in Leo, it's important that we take advantage of this opportunity to elevate the Leo part of ourselves to its higher nature. So embracing generosity, kindness, emotional warmth, embracing play if we have lived our whole lives being so serious that we have to take ourselves seriously. Because the more we can tap into our inner child and engage in our more playful natures, which is a fundamental part of who we are. Play gets denigrated, but play is also the birthplace of a lot of creativity, a lot of problem solving. So the more we can play and engage in creative activities that serve no apparent purpose, the better our problem solving skills actually get, which is what we take into Virgo. So the more we can embrace our childlike nature, that warmth, innocence, love, generosity, and radiate it outwards, the better place will be when the solar eclipse comes around in Leo and sets a lesson that we need to embody these traits to show other people how to do it. So this new moon in Leo for July is key, because this sets a framework for the solar eclipse next month. So the more we can embrace our own creativity, our own emotional warmth, and be able to give and receive love for the people, the better able we can then model these behaviours when the solar eclipse comes around. The day after the new moon in Leo, Mercury enters the shadow part of the retrograde. So the retrograde doesn't start until August, but when Mercury enters his shadow, we start to feel the effects of Mercury retrograde from that point onwards. So it's a time to really start to slow down, not take any rash actions or jump to any decisions at this point. What we need to do is slow down and listen to the information coming from our intuition, which may be trying to point out that we don't have all the facts of the situation that we want to make a decision on. So we need to slow down, take a breath, and heed all the other information coming in. So the more we can slow down during the pre-retrograde section of Mercury shadow period, the better able we'll be to navigate Mercury retrograde itself, because we've already started slowing down in preparation for it when it goes retrograde next month. And one of the key players for the month of July is going to be Pluto in Capricorn, in the sense that other planets are moving across the opposition point in Cancer during July. So we'll have the Sun making his annual opposition to Pluto retrograde. So this is a time where we may feel a lot of pressure externally to work and outside, to neglect our inner world. So this is a time where we do need to address where our obsession with our legacy or our work commitments prevents us from getting to truly know ourselves. Because if we don't know ourselves, then how can we know that we're actually, the things that we're doing to build a legacy are actually right for us? So we may feel pressure to be drawn out of ourselves, but it's important we remain in contact with our roots and our inner self, so that we know that whatever actions we're taking are actually aligned with who we are and are not following another goal which isn't actually aligned with our higher self. And we'll also have our actions and desires assessed when Mars goes through the opposition zone of Pluto. So Mars is the lower octave of Pluto, so the two of them oppose one another, could indicate where our conscious desires and actions go against the deeper desires of our subconscious. So we'll need to bring both sides into balance and consciously assess what are our true motives for doing something. Because if it's based on the ego, then we need to transform that and let go of it, so that a more truthful version of ourselves emerges from the midst of that and guides our actions and our desires through knowing ourselves and making sure that whatever desires we have are honest, they'll help other people out, and will allow us to know ourselves deeper. Because if we become consumed by our egoic desires, then we could mistake our ego as our sense of identity when it isn't. The ego should only ever be the vehicle of the soul, not the master. So during this transit, we do need to remain in touch with our inner world and assess our desires, allow our identity to transform as we get used to understanding where our true power lies, and to appreciate the deepest resources of the soul, which are always there for us to tap into. But if we live our lives through the ego and we don't take time to slow down and see what gifts are lying within us, then we'll not be able to reach our true potential. So this is one of the themes during the Sun in Cancer transit that we need to be aware of. But as I said at the start, the energies of this month are not as rapidly changing as they were in June, and as what we will experience in August with some of the retrogrades in next month and the eclipse season. So the more we can take advantage of the energies of July and the fact that they're fairly slow in comparison, and the more we can get to know ourselves, what makes us tick, who are we really, then the better able we'll be to navigate the changes that will come in August. So this is a month to take advantage of this relative calm, to know ourselves. Chiron has gone retrograde recently, right at the end of June, so we'll be feeling that quite strongly. So it's a time to take advantage of the calm to address the wounds of disconnection we have and transform them through love, so that we then radiate the power of love rather than cling to a love of power. Because when we do this, this then empowers us going forward to be a healing influence rather than a destructive influence, and will also allow us to take better advantage of whatever wisdom the retrogrades in August and the solar eclipses will bring to us. So May July bringing much growth and preparation for when the storm comes next month, and may it bring you many blessings and may you become strong through it. Take care.